Alright, what's going on, guys? If you've been one keeping up with all the small news around Elden Ring, specifically over the past few weeks, then you'll know that it's been a very busy time, with tons of small little things pointing towards Elden Ring DLC not being too far off. And this week has been another big week, packed full of FromSoftware and Elden Ring news. Today we have several more signs about Elden Ring DLC to break down, big news about FromSoftware and a new studio they're going to be collaborating with, as well as news about an Elden Ring mobile game. And yes, you heard that correctly. So we have a lot to get through and a lot to break down. And if you want to stay up to date on all things Elden Ring and FromSoftware, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And now let's get into it. Working in chronological order here, we'll begin with the DLC stuff. As many of you may know if you've been keeping up with the channel, we've been following pretty closely the updates in development with the DLC that are available for the public to see over on SteamDB. And while we were a bit skeptical of the package that contained this so-called DLC, it's now been all but confirmed that that package is Shadow of the Erdtree. Well, earlier in this week, we saw massive changes, with this DLC package being added to nearly every single depot in the game. Now, what does that mean? Essentially, in the best way I understand it, the build of Elden Ring that is not available to the public contains Shadow of the Erdtree, and is being played and worked on by people with back-end access for a number of purposes. The most important of those is likely playtesting and quality assurance. So we're looking at people outside of FromSoftware with access to the DLC, and there's a lot that can be gleaned from that. Firstly, this is one of the final stages of development, basically making sure there's no game-breaking glitches before it goes out to the public, and this typically happens a month or two before it goes live. When Elden Ring was originally in this state, there were a ton of leaks. Gameplay was getting dropped, story leaks were being shared all over the internet, but it does seem like this time around FromSoftware is keeping it much better under wraps, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. But early this morning we got another update to the DLC package, undergoing several other unspecified changes. Now we don't really have much to work off with these, and this doesn't appear to be in back-end development, but after talking to some others about this, a theory that I think makes quite a bit of sense is that these could be changes to the storefront, translating the DLC page into other languages, but that is pure guesswork. But we are almost certain about the QA testing, so I'm curious to hear what you guys think these changes might be. But also in the news, today we got the new Hidetaka financial report, and in this we have yet another small section detailing plans for the DLC and Elden Ring in the future. In the gaming segment overview, they detail how sales are down, caused by the massive success of Elden Ring offsetting the past few years. However, repeat sales have remained consistently well. But the juicy bits of this come from the future outlook section. The first bullet point there reads, FromSoftware will further step up efforts to improve profitability in the medium to long term. Various measures are currently in progress for Elden Ring, including the development of major DLC to maximize lifetime value. Now when I read that, my first instinct was to be a bit concerned, because typically medium to long term means another 6 months to a year. But a lot of you guys told me to calm down, because it's likely not referring to the DLC specifically, but all the other things Elden Ring is doing as well, and the fact that DLC will make the game a long-term seller. Other things like a Game of the Year edition of Elden Ring that will also include the DLC with it. We also have the Elden Ring manga that's still going, as well as the Elden Ring mobile game that we're going to talk about more in a minute. All of those contribute to the medium to long-term lifetime value. And again, as always with these reports, when FromSoftware hasn't announced the release date themselves, they can't specify any details, so it's important to keep that in mind. What we need to focus on here are all the signs we've been talking about, specifically with SteamDB and the DLC undergoing QA testing. The second great hollowing is almost over. But we did get a pretty big bombshell in that report. Hidetaka announced the acquisition of Acquire Corp. Acquire is a Japanese game developer studio that's worked with FromSoftware in the past on games like Tenchu, and are also famous for co-developing Octopath Traveler. And they specify the goals of this acquisition: to promote collaboration with FromSoftware and Spike Chunsoft, with whom Acquire had a cooperative relationship. Now, like I mentioned earlier, Acquire has worked with From in the past on the Tenchu games, which Sekiro is a spiritual successor to. But what does this mean? The speculation that I've seen going around quite a bit, and that I think is going to be the case, is that Acquire is going to be more of a support studio for Spike Chunsoft and FromSoftware, more than they are going to be doing their own thing. So this is going to help FromSoftware out a lot in their future endeavors, and Acquire has areas of expertise that FromSoftware isn't too familiar with. They've worked on games on the Switch, games on mobile, and therefore many other game engines. And we don't currently have any idea what FromSoftware's future projects are beyond Elden Ring DLC, but this is great news in knowing that they are going to have a lot of extra help from some very experienced developers with whom they already have a good and established relationship. But that is a portion of the story to keep your eye on going forward. Now this next one took the internet by storm over the past few days. Reported by Reuters, Tencent working on mobile version of hit console game Elden Ring. And this does appear to be very real. Hong Kong, February 6, China's Tencent Holdings has been working to adapt acclaimed action role-playing console game Elden Ring into a mobile version. 3 people familiar with the matter said as it searches for a new hit to refresh its aging stock of games. The world's largest gaming company by revenue acquired the licensing rights for the game by FromSoftware in 2022 and set up a team of a few dozen people to work on a prototype. The same year it bought a 16% stake in the Japanese game maker, but progress has been slow, they added. Tencent did not disclose its plans to develop a mobile version of the game at the time. While Elden Ring was designed as a premium game with a set price tag, Tencent wants to make it a free-to-play game with in-app purchases similar to the hit game Genshin Impact. But the design model of Elden Ring, which focuses on a complete experience after a one-time purchase, is at odds with Tencent's planned model. Tencent and FromSoftware declined to comment. Now this shouldn't really come as a surprise to anybody. We covered here on the channel back when Tencent made their purchase of 15% of FromSoftware, one of their specifications was to include the mobile game technologies in the global market and China. So while they didn't outright say we're making a mobile Elden Ring, it was pretty much inevitable at that point. Now I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea if this kind of game could work at all. I'm a grown man, I don't play Genshin Impact. I have heard that it's an open world game, but I know nothing about the gameplay loop there. But one thing that is consistent with Tencent games is the overly predatory microtransactions, which as the article specified, fundamentally goes against the idea of FromSoftware games. When it comes to mobile games like this, they're made with the idea of microtransactions first and a fun game second. So I'm not surprised that they're having development troubles because they're going to have to change the core game entirely. Now I do think there are great mobile games out there and it's definitely possible to make one, but the chances of this going right are slim to none. Personally, I'll be surprised if it ever comes out at all. But y'all let me know down in the comments section, do you think an Elden Ring mobile game is possible, and do you think it has any chance of actually being good? So to wrap all this up and finish out this video, let me kind of give you my speculation. When it comes to all this Elden Ring DLC news that we've been covering, at this point it's inevitable that we're going to get something within the next month or two. Realistically, as we've been saying all along, a big trailer drop around the anniversary on the 25th makes the most sense, and I would be willing to put money on that. Now I have no insider knowledge, I'm not asking you to get excited for nothing. The purpose of these videos as always is to keep you informed and hopefully make the wait a little bit easier. And all I can do is share my thoughts and analysis on the situation with the same knowledge that every one of us has. Have we been wrong before? Yes, plenty of times, but where we stand right now is the absolute best it's ever been since Elden Ring came out. We are literally watching the DLC undergo the final stages in real time, and if that's not a good sign, then I don't know what is. So with all that, I look forward to reading all y'all's thoughts down in the comment section below. Be sure to leave a like rating on the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. But with all that, I will catch you in the next one.